Hey y'all, hope you're doing good today. So I want to start a presentation on ghosts, and I'm inspired by Halloween. I'm filming this right now. If you're watching this in the future, this is around Halloween's coming up very soon. So I'm just inspired by that, and I thought I would just kind of have a few uploads that are Halloween themed, but they're still extremely relevant just to our life in general. So, but I'm going to call this the real ghosts in our lives, and it's going to be a multi-part presentation, so at least 2 filmings. I think I can wrap it up in 2, may take 3, but the first part I'm going to focus on the energetics, the spiritual side of things, and then in the next part I'll just bring it down to the logical, and we're just going to talk about kind of bullet point identifiable things, ways that we can recognize a ghost-like figure in our life and what that means. And I'm talking specifically about people who, you know, we use a lot of different labels, be it toxic or narcissistic or sociopath, psychopath, whatever it is. Those are the individuals I'm talking about that I'm referencing as ghosts. So I just want to put that out there up front. And there's a lot of different ways we can relate these individuals to ghosts. It's never meant on my channel, whatever information I'm presenting, I just want to put this out there, it's never meant to be judgmental. It's only meant to look at everything differently. I try to just view everything from so many different perspectives and use so many different lenses in my presentations for you all, because I do this for myself, right? So I try to do this for you all as well, just hoping that each lens or each different perspective or angle that we come at, you know, this overarching topic at or through or with, acts as a key. I want every different angle to act as a key to unlock another piece of information for us, to be able to take it from this surface level wisdom down into a deeper understanding that's actually usable, that can serve as a foundation for us to take steps, right, in our life, actionable steps to do something about it, and to to just move and to be inspired to move, to do things to better our lives, right? So that's my intention, and I just hope you enjoy the presentation. So I have a friend that likes to support local artists, like I do as well. And a while back, it's been a couple of years, I guess, she went to a local craft fair and she bought just a huge bunch of different stickers from different artists, and that was the format she went with. You know, there were a lot of them there that had their art, their illustrations or whatever on stickers in sticker format. So she bought a lot for herself, and she bought some for me too, and I thought that was really cool, very sweet. And so I used some of them right away, excuse me, and then I put some away for later. And so I found one the other day in my drawer. I just opened it up and there it was, and I had totally forgot about it. And I guess I had stuff piled on top of it, I don't know, but this is a drawer I use all the time, but just like, you know, suddenly there it was, kind of strange, you know. So I open it and it's it says facts over fear. You know, I almost said it wrong because I'm so used to hearing, you know, the phrase faith over fear, but this one actually says facts over fear. So I want to rope this into our presentation today, and just kind of we're going to be pulling a lot of different things together to make a point, but I think all these different elements are very important. They seem unrelated, but this is just a tactic we can use to view all of this topic, this overarching topic, from an expanded view. And you know, when we do that, it's not uncommon for different people to have different revelations. See, when you're just sitting in a class, for example, like a lecture style class in college or whatever, and you know, the professor's got this PowerPoint up and it's bullet points and you're writing down the bullet points. It kind of keeps everybody confined, doesn't it? Like focused on these particulars. And so this type of discussion or a presentation is meant to do the opposite of that. It's meant to invoke this deeper critical thinking. This it's meant to tap into higher level thinking, and I believe that that's very important for revelations to really surface. And so I think that it's very helpful at the latter stages of healing from psychological abuse, as well as just when you're wanting to learn and grow, just part of personal growth, you know. So if you're new to my channel, you'll see that most of my presentations lean more towards this type of style, you know, and it comes off more like just a casual conversation, you know, with a friend. And so I hope that it's valuable to you in that way, because a big part of coming out of a toxic relationship or environment, situation, friendship, whatever it was, a big part of that is feeling lonely, because it puts us, a lot of times we're isolated on purpose, and it puts us in this position that once we come out of it, we have to get our bearings again, you know. And so it can be a lonely place. And so I just hope that my style of presentation is meaningful for you, because I know that this is the type of stuff that really helped me. And so anyway, let's get back on topic here. The sticker said fact over fear, or facts over fear, and it reminded me of, you know, I was thinking about fear and all those negative type vibrations or feelings or whatever, and I started thinking about the opposite, which is like happiness and joy and peace and bliss. And I thought of bliss, and then I thought about that old saying, you know, ignorance is bliss, which is kind of like the opposite of facts over fear. You have facts, which is knowing things, knowledge, and then you have ignorance, right? If ignorance is bliss, right, then you have facts over fear. Like, instead of being fearful, then we can ideally, facts would bring us to a place of peace. And we're going to kind of tie all this in together in the end, but just hang with me. So there's also a couple of sayings as well that came to mind, which is, you know, breaking down the word fear with the first letters, right, which is face everything and rise, or forget everything and run. And that's important here too, because ultimately you'll see as we get further into the presentation, those are the options. Once this big revelation comes about for a person, okay, once a person wakes up or takes the red pill or whatever, however you want to say it, whatever lens you want to use, okay, from the spiritual lens, you might say, once, you know, their spirit has been convicted, you know, they become aware of themselves, right, and of kind of everything. I once was blind, but now I see. It's like, now what are you going to do with it? You know, are you going to face what you've been made aware of, and you're going to do what you need to do to rise above it and be reborn, or, you know, become a better version of yourself, or whatever it is? Or are you going to face everything, and instead of doing that, right, which it requires something, it requires work and sacrifice and things like that. Okay, so are you going to do that and rise, or face everything and rise, or are you going to be made aware of it and then forget everything and run? See, because again, it's not just a, you know, an easy thing. It's a challenge. It requires, you know, a warrior spirit to be able to push through and elevate. So we're going to get deep into that today. All right. With a person who is living in the darkness, you might say, that's one way to put it. A toxic individual, a person who doesn't have the best intentions for others, a bully, a narcissist, a sociopath, whatever you want to say. Okay. With a controlling person like that, they use fear to control, which is really interesting, because I've thrown around this concept, and it really kind of rings true for me. Which we're going to talk about this phrase about ringing a bell in a little bit. It's pretty interesting, but this rings true for me. That there's ultimately, one truth, and then there's all these different variations of the truth, as well as like pieces of the truth that are twisted and corrupted. And so that's what a lot of times we call deceit or the lie, and we have to kind of untangle it to get to the truth, see. But all there really is the truth. That's a kind of a belief I have, right? So in that spirit, when you think about a controlling person using fear, consider this. We can understand that fear is actually, as a tool of a psychologically abusive person, fear is exploited, okay? A lot of times when we hear that word, that term, label, whatever, fear, we think automatically that it's something negative, right? And I'm not saying it's not, but just go with me here, okay? And I say that because there's a verse in Proverbs in the Bible that says that fear is the beginning, or fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Okay, so in that way, it serves a higher good purpose, right? But what a psychologically abusive person does is they exploit fear. So it could be used for good or meant for good, but it's exploited, see, or twisted, you might say. What's interesting to me is, with a person who wishes to control you, a spellcaster, you might say, someone who wants to control your mind, if you comply with their demands or their manipulations, then it's kind of like the reward that you have for that is that you can relax, but just for a short time. They always keep you like walking on eggshells, like on your toes all the time, right? You kind of have to stay hyper vigilant, which is why your focus becomes totally on them externally, right? They condition you in that way, and in so doing, you wind up neglecting yourself, and you don't even know you're doing it. I actually had a friend, the same friend that gifted me with those stickers. Actually, she's awesome. She came over one day, and she was so frustrated. She's like, "You got to start taking care of yourself." And look, I'm not talking about like I wasn't bathing and stuff like that. Even though if you've ever got to that stage, please don't judge yourself. But let me just put it this way. If you saw a picture of me several years back versus now, I'm a very different person. But yet, if you saw a picture of me way back when, you would see how healthy I was. See? So it's really interesting, the different stages we go through depending on what we've been put through. You know what I mean? But yeah, you can wind up neglecting yourself. You're just so hyper vigilant, focused on this other person, trying to keep them happy, right? Which is what they want. But if you do that, if you comply with letting them call the shots, right? They're driving the car of your life too. They just put your life inside the car, and they want to be in control. Then you can kind of relax somewhat, right? And what happens, I have found, is that it's like a subconscious agreement on our part to stay ignorant, right? To feel peace, or you might say bliss, but it's temporary. So that when I think of ignorance as bliss, that's kind of what I think of. Like, we don't want to face it. We don't want to face everything and rise. See, we're kind of in that in-between state right there with regards to fear, okay? Now here's where, when you do wake up and you realize how they've been conning you essentially the whole time, you realize that this treasure of awareness that everyone comes into the, everyone eventually finds, right? I think. They've already beat you there. But instead of facing everything and rising, they chose to see it and forget everything and run. And they're living a life on the run, essentially. right? They're running from accountability, responsibility, which is why they can never apologize and all that. But you're kind of kept or lulled to sleep. You're kept in this dreamlike state, this kind of sleep state. But it's kind of like there's your higher expanded self that catches everything. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say on another level of your psyche, another part of your awareness. I believe, this is my belief, that you truly know in your bones that this person isn't treating you right. So it's just a matter of, accepting it, once you are made aware fully, once you're able to bring it fully into your conscious awareness. It's like it's floating around in there because you ignored so many red flags and stuff, right? You fooled yourself in some manner. And look, this is not to shift and put the blame on you or me, because we truly were victims. Our minds were manipulated. I'm just trying to highlight this higher version of ourselves that is expanded, this other expanded level of consciousness, and we're going to be talking about that. And I'm trying to just kind of tiptoe and ease us into it, through this part of the discussion. So yeah, it's like that's what I've come to believe, is that we have this subconscious agreement to stay ignorant, to feel bliss or peace or whatever, contentment, right? But it's temporary. So I believe that deep down we remember who we are. We remember that at our core we are powerful. We know deep down that we'd be just fine without this toxic person in our life. And so I want to share something with you. I think about us, the real us, instead of living inside of our body, our physical body. I actually think that our body, physical body, lives inside of us. So look, this is what several years of college in with an art major gets you right here. But this is how I view us, is this part, this energy field. Okay, and I think that our body is inside of this. This was a great shift that I had for myself. Instead of thinking that, this was, inside of here, when I made this shift in my mind, it's like, oh my gosh, this makes sense. Okay, especially when you think about how, I was telling you recently how dogs, their hair will stand up on the back of their back, if they feel threatened. And they're not thinking in terms of language like we do. It's kind of like an instinct, right? And how we can just walk into a room or find ourselves in a particular environment or around a certain person, and we can kind of, get chills or just feel kind of off or uncomfortable, but we don't know why. And this is why I think it is. If this is true, then, if this is us in our body, which is temporary, right? Physical body, when that goes away, this will remain, right? Because energy never dies, right? It's got to be true. I mean, the Black Eyed Peas said so. But yeah, this is why. And so you walk into this environment here, or you get close to this person, and you can pick up on what they call vibes, and that's why you can feel really good about a person just when you first meet them. But you still need to be, logical and stay guarded and everything. Or you can feel really kind of cautious and, unsure about somebody. That, it just makes sense to me. And there's all kind of research you can do with regards to that. Energy fields and, our aura and things like that. I just encourage you to do your own research if you have interest there, okay? I'm certainly never trying to put myself out there as an expert. I'm just a truth seeker. So, yes. So if you think about all of us just kind of navigating this reality as, an energetic field, somewhat, like this bubble or ball or sphere or whatever, it kind of makes sense. Think about this. Have you ever had chills or gotten chills listening to music, certain music? Not all of it. It doesn't all do that for me, but sometimes it does. And typically, sometimes it's beautiful instrumentals. I love instrumentals. I truly do. But it's typically vocals that do this for me. It's singing, right? I'm just curious if you've had that experience. Feel free to share in the comments if you want to. But especially if it's like a chorus, But it made me, when I was thinking about that, I started thinking about sound vibrations, right? What are they? If energy is a real thing, even though it's invisible, right? But we have evidence that it exists. We use it, right? So thinking about sound vibrations, you just kind of wonder, how does that play into the, the energetic field, right? Are they energetic? If they affect us, if sound affects us physically, why is that? So if you think about like echoes and how certain sounds, when you put those vibrations of sound waves out there, when they hit something physical, it's like it can bounce back, right? It can reverberate. It's like you have this this invisible sound wave, right? That's very real. And it's like it makes contact, not just with, objects like a rock wall or whatever, but also with the body, right? They can make contact with the body. And when it kind of does that and reverberates with it, or vibrates, within or at the surface of our body, I think of it like ringing us like a bell, If you think of our bodies as being, a clay pot, because in the Bible it's talked, it mentions God being the potter, and that our bodies are empty in the sense that we're like, a temple, right, for the Holy Spirit. So, or like a shell, you know what I mean? There's so many different, again, lenses or perspectives you can use here. But if you think about that concept of a ghost, like at Halloween, you're just going to have this sheet, hanging over you. But the concept, if you cartoonify this concept, it's like this empty white sheet floating around, right? There's nothing there. You just kind of rip it off and there's nothing, and it's like, oh God, it's, that's the scare part of it, right? And then you think about a bell, and then you think about, a shell, or the human body, the physical human body. That's what I was thinking about. I'm gonna tie all this in. So sound waves, when they hit the body, it's like they affect it. It's kind of like ringing a bell. And that's how I see it. And so I was reminded of that phrase, hey, that rings a bell. And which I looked it up, and it means that we are reminded of something, but we can't quite recall exactly what. And so looking up the origin of that phrase, that rings a bell, it's actually got a scientific origin, and it's from Pavlov's experiment with dogs, where he conditioned them to salivate at the sound of a bell because he would feed them, and then he started feeding them and ringing a bell at the same time. So they associated the sound of the bell with being fed, so they expected food, and they were conditioned in that manner, right? So this is important. They were conditioned to drool at the sound of a bell. And the key word here that's relevant for us is that they were conditioned. See, you can sort of think of a narcissistic person, or just a toxic person, a psychologically abusive person, as an energy worker for the bad. And then you might think of a shaman. I think there's people who work with, I think it's called Reiki. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But they're energy workers for the good. So there's, a good and bad side, black and white, polarized, two sides of coin, same coin, you might say, right? But you might think of them as energy workers for the bad, these toxic people, whatever you want to call them. And so essentially, it's like a scientific approach that they're using to condition us. And we're going to talk about it, okay? Especially more so in the next video, when I get down to just very literal examples. But essentially, we're talking about an energetic science, okay? Now, if we think of our body as our physical body. If we think of our physical body as the filter to our energy body, which is larger, right? Which is the real us. Because our body is, our physical body is where our conscious awareness is focused. It's like the focal point through our senses. It acts as a focal point for our conscious awareness. It's like our conscious awareness, while we're here having this human experience, our conscious awareness is focused through this physical body, through our senses, okay? But it's still connected to this larger energetic part, okay? So it stands to reason then that our energy can be accessed. It can be accessed through our physical body, okay? Our energetic body, the real us, it's kind of like it's hidden, you might say, and even spiritually, you can think of the term hidden here too, right? But there's people who know how to tap into that, and they do so through our body, through our senses, right? But there's something more. There's a key point here. If we consider or hypothesize a bridge, right? We can just kind of visualize this, a bridge between our physical self and our energetic self. Then I would propose specifically it's through our thoughts and our emotions that we are manipulated by these people, right? But sometimes it's true, like I was saying earlier, we can pick up vibes just from a certain person or environment, okay? But if the origin of our conscious awareness, the origin, right, of our conscious awareness is outside of the mind, right, outside of the body even, then it makes sense that we can detect things without a thought or without a feeling, without, logic. We can pick up on it still. It makes sense if our true awareness, our true self is out here, okay, outside of the mind. It's really the only way it makes sense to me. A lot of people call this their higher self or the Holy Spirit or the Holy Ghost, right? Through us or our soul. So our awareness can actually shift from being expanded, right, energetically, spiritually, and then being focused through our senses, okay? Our awareness can shift. I want to pause here and share something with you, and then we're going to tie it all together. There's a song that I heard several years ago, many years ago actually, and it was beautiful but strange. I don't know if you guys have heard of the musical artist, Norah Jones, but she's very unique. And there's a song that she performed, I think with this other group called Wax Poetic. I'll put the link down in the description. But the song has lyrics that talks about angels falling through one's hair. I know, sounds wild, doesn't it? But just wait. I found this connection. It was really interesting. So I'm going to share some of the lyrics with you, and I'm also going to share the source of where I found the translations, because some of it's in English and some of it's in, the guy that translated it said it's Haitian Creole. It's really cool to listen to. But here's some of the lyrics. Angels falling through my hair, I want to meet them tomorrow. Angels falling through my hair, I want to meet them tomorrow. It repeats, and then it goes into the translation. It says, look how we're walking or wandering. Look how we're searching for tomorrow. We don't even have courage. And then he's got in parentheses, strength. Even when the angel is descending to give us courage or strength, to give us force or courage, so we can work or endure. He's giving us force or strength so we can get to where we're going, to last us on our journey. Angels falling through my hair, I want to meet them tomorrow. Meet them falling through my hair, I want to meet them tomorrow. even if you don't see tomorrow, you'll still get far. Don't stay behind searching. Don't lose yourself in searching. Walk, walk. We'll get very far because we will see tomorrow. He will give us courage so we can see tomorrow. He will give us courage so we can search. In our search, everywhere that we go, we'll find everything we're searching because of the angel. So, to me, there's layers and layers to that. Again, many years ago, when I heard that, it just made no sense. I think I even found a website, this random website that I couldn't find again today, that was talking about what they meant, the true meaning of whoever authored that song, wrote that song. But regardless, I still find value in deciphering poetry and lyrics and things like that for ourselves, because I believe in a collective unconscious. I believe in this this spirit that is shared amongst us all, and it comes through all of us in symbols. And the symbols can be in picture form or in word form, story form, whatever it is. And it comes out in things like movies and books and, like I said, art, poetry, songs, whatever. It comes out that way. And then, in other words, there's an old saying that says, art is a collaboration between the artist and God. And the less the artist does, the better. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like the artist can intend for the meaning of a song or art piece or whatever, painting, to be one thing. But it can mean something different to someone else and be totally relevant and substantiated with the use of the particular words or symbols. You see what I'm saying? Because there's this archetypal meaning that's valid for the collective that comes through. And so regardless of what was intended when it was written, I still think that it's valid for us to do our own assessment and to figure out what it means for us. But, you know, hair is interesting in itself, and I want to share something with you in just a minute. But let me just share this. So hair throughout different stories, myth, folklore, fairy tales, is a lot of times it's used as a symbolism for magic. And it also, just a little fact here, it never stops growing. Isn't that wild? Supposedly, when one dies. But it reminded me of Rapunzel. You know, her hair, if you think about Rapunzel, her hair was both her prison or the cause of her imprisonment, okay, because it was her treasure. It was the reason that her evil fake mother, the sorceress, it was the reason she was imprisoned, right? It was both the cause of her imprisonment and also the source of her empowerment later. And then it's the same as Elsa. Elsa's powers in Frozen, the Frozen movies, they were the reason when she was growing up that she was imprisoned in a room and kept separate from her family, from her sister. But then later, her powers served for the good, for herself and her sister, saving her and the community. See, there's two sides. So interesting. This is just really important to note here. So, it's like we're given this immense treasure, but it's like we are blind to it for a long time, okay? And we aren't very good stewards, because even if we kind of grasp it, we don't really recognize its power. So because of that, it's used against us, right? What is this treasure? It's debatable. But again, I feel like this is something that might serve as a paradox, or be a paradox here. And let me give you an example. So if love is kind of everything, the highest frequency, which there's a song, I'll drop a link down here, that's part of the lyrics. It's beautiful. I love it. It's a great song. But if love is the highest frequency, then it stands to reason that it would be our hair, symbolically, or our power to freeze everything. Let me just expand on this. I want to read a little something from, a little excerpt from this book I have. Okay, the Book of Symbols. And it talks about this, about hair specifically. And it says, in the Grimm's fairy tale, Rapunzel, the young girl imprisoned in a tower by a sorceress, has unnaturally long tresses that look like spun gold. She embodies the plight of a possessed or encapsulated soul, where, until it is freed, the golden potentiality for true or symbolic imagination is replaced by idealized, illusory fantasizing. And the personality, dreamy and isolated, loses the ability to root in reality or live creatively in the world. That's actually a quote from a book from Donald Kalsched, Kalsched, called The Inner World of Trauma, Archetypal Defenses of the Personal Spirit. I'm definitely going to order that book. So I was like, wow. So what I'm sensing from that quote is a true reality and a false reality, right? And so I'm thinking about the Matrix and the blue pill and the red pill. So often when we wake up to the true reality, it's most often, or if not every time, extremely jarring, right? Just that's the term that just came to me, right? So true, extremely jarring. And this is captured wonderfully in the movie The Matrix, right? When Neo takes the red pill. You know, so it's our very own power, unrealized, that entraps us until we discover it, right? Why? Are we afraid of it? Think about it. In all the great stories, myths, fairy tales, it's like there's a grand treasure hunt, right? So when we wake up, the power is recognized, and we have the potential, okay? I don't believe we're immediately set free. When the power is recognized, there's a choice. This is the crossroads. We now have the potential to be set free. So again, back to, what is this power? What is this treasure? It's often said love is the highest frequency. Okay. God in the Bible is described as being synonymous with love, and also synonymous with a consuming fire. All right. So I just encourage you to look up Hebrews chapter 12, which that whole chapter in itself kind of goes along with, if you look at it this way, that song that I shared with you from Norah Jones and Wax Poetic, right? Angels falling through my hair, or angels. The whole chapter is really interesting to kind of consider, to just marinate on, right? Chew on, meditate on, with the song lyrics. But yes, consider all this being synonymous. God, love, and a consuming fire. It seems like two polar opposites here. Love, something good, and a consuming fire, which seems bad. But is it? Is it? Right? I would propose that it comes down to, again, the concept of fear. Facing it. When I say everything, face everything, that's what that would be. God is the Alpha and Omega, right? Face everything and rise, or forget, which means to turn away from everything and run. See? So if you don't run and you face it and you rise, consider the concept of the phoenix. And I don't know a lot about this, but there's this concept of the phoenix rising, right? Which is typically this bird of flames, right? Throughout different cultures. It's very in line with that, right? There's fire involved. There's a rejuvenation. There's beauty from ashes. See, it's transformative. It's transformative. You can't be afraid. So the ones who were empowered because we were disempowered are immediately rendered irrelevant. When we are made aware of this power in the universe, in this existence, and we don't run from it out of fear, then the game's over for these people, these users. See, just like the evil sorceress in Entangled in the Rapunzel story in Disney, you know, they depict her turning from, you know, a beautiful lady into a witch, right? So in other words, their shell of beauty dissolves, right? So the shell, the physical body, isn't permanent, but the energy inside is, right? It's immortal. So I like to consider us as a three-part structure, okay? The body, physical body, which dies. The spirit or essence, which is what feeds and sustains us, right? Gives us this life force energy. That's what returns to God. This is just my theory based on what I've read and researched. And then the third part would be the soul or the mind, which is like the ego or us part, right? The personality, the part that makes us unique, a unique self. So the body dies, the spirit or the essence returns to God, and then the soul and the mind, what happens to that at death? I think it depends. I think it depends on if there was a conscious union with the spirit part or not, a cosmic marriage, okay, to love and God or not. If so, then I believe it lives on. If not, then I'm reminded of ghosts that, I don't know, maybe their karma is to be bound to the earth forever, or to this realm, the lower realms, you might say, or in some stories and myths, maybe the underworld, you know, forever, but just forever hungry, forever longing, right? Which is really interesting, right? What are ghosts known for in stories, right? Messing with people, screwing with people, right? Wanting to use people or exploit them in some way. How interesting that that's the same thing that a narcissistic person does. A psychologically abusive person, same thing. It's that same spirit, that same motivating factor that drives them, right? So I propose that these people who exploit us and use and abuse us are already ghosts, right? There's a soul there, but that's it. There's been no marriage of the spirit part. It's been offered because I believe at some point it's offered to all of us through our conscious awareness, and that's a tough pill to swallow, you know? I think a lot of times we just think, well, they, you know, they haven't woken up yet, you know? And a lot of us can behave in unfavorable ways, you know. We can sin, you might say, or make bad choices or whatever before we're at the age of accountability, which is different for each of us, you know. But once you have been made aware and you've woken up, so to speak, on this other level of consciousness, now you're held accountable, see. And so, yeah, I think of these people as already ghosts, okay? You might say the lights are on, but no one's home, which also makes them a perfect target for possession by any spirit or essence, right? Not just that of love or God, but possibly other entities. So I'll wrap it up here, and then I'll come back with a part 2. And I don't know if there'll be a part 3. We'll have to see how it goes. But I hope that you enjoyed the presentation so far. I hope that it got the wheels turning, and I just thank you for coming along to listen. I hope that you have a wonderful day, beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.